Welcome to the Be Well at USask podcast. My name is Peter Headley. I serve as the Director of Student Affairs and Services at the university. This podcast is for all members of the University of Saskatchewan community. Each week, members of the USask community will join me to share ideas and provide guidance on all aspects of being well. And we'll be highlighting campus initiatives and resources designed to engage and support you. In these challenging times, we hope the ideas and information we share will help. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to Tracy Spencer, who's the Manager of Student Affairs and Outreach at the University of Saskatchewan. We're going to be talking about taking care of yourself and one another. So Tracy, can you tell me a little bit about your role on campus and how you and your team support students?
For sure. Our team consists of 5 registered social workers, and we provide a lot of different support to students. So some of that work is we have 2 social workers who do outreach services, and they provide support to students who are in crisis or distress or just really have a complicated, complex situation going on. And so they can go in and do an assessment and help them with problem resolution and crisis intervention and prevention. And so we have 2 social workers that do that. We also do mental health intake. And so these are for students who are not connected to counseling services already. So students who are seeking mental health support and haven't made any connections thus far. So they can come in and we can do a holistic assessment and figure out what is going on for the students and be able to really connect them with the right service provider. And so while most referrals are to the counseling team, we also look at other referrals, right? So maybe they need to see a dietitian, or maybe we can connect them up with a doctor, or maybe it's one of the services in the community even. So we really look at doing a holistic assessment in our mental health intake. And those 2 social workers also do our drop-in counseling. And so right now that is virtual. So we have drop-in counseling available in all afternoons, where students who are in crisis or distress and just really need to talk through something can give us a call, and we can have a student be seen in a drop-in counseling session. We also have the counselor in residence program. So Ryan Belansky, who is our counselor in residence, works 0.5 with us in intake and 0.5 in residence. And so he provides a lot of support and counseling, brief solution counseling services to students who live in residence.
So alongside the work you do supporting students, your team also does a lot of work, I know, around educational programming. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we offer a wide range of programs and workshops for students. So mental health first aid, we offer the Living Work Safe Talk, which is a suicide prevention program. We also offer the Inquiring Mind, bringing in the bystander, which is a sexual violence prevention program. We also offer dealing with difficult people, introduction to conflict resolution. So lots of various programs for mostly students, but some of our workshops are for faculty and staff as well.
And so in terms of faculty and staff, can you tell me a little bit about the work that your team does to support them? Because I know it's not just students.
We often get phone calls from faculty and staff who express concern about a student. And so we will often engage in conversations and consult with faculty and staff in terms of how they can manage the situation or how we can get involved to be able to support the students. And so we really appreciate it when our faculty and staff give us a call.
Just on that, when faculty or staff are in touch with you, what does that look like from a confidentiality perspective? Because I know that that's one of the really big questions about the privacy piece with the information they're sharing and what will happen with that information.
Faculty and staff don't necessarily have the same confidentiality limitations that social workers or psychologists or people in the health field have. So if you are concerned about a student, I think it's good practice to be able to share that information, because at the end of the day, it comes from a place of care and concern. It comes from a place from wanting to be able to connect with the student and make sure that they're getting the support and the help that they need. Now, we don't have the ability to share back with faculty and staff, so we can't often, or we aren't able to share information about a student that they are calling with, but people are able to share information with us that we can in turn help them manage the situation, or again, allow for us to be able to do that reach out because we're concerned about them. And I often talk about life trumps privacy. And so if you are concerned about a student, and if it comes from a place of care and concern, why aren't we asking our support services to reach out and connect with students to be able to make sure that they're doing okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I guess what I'm hearing too is that they absolutely have permission to do that, that they might be sitting there worrying, well, is this enough? Is this over the line enough for me to call? And, or maybe it isn't. But your message, I think, is that absolutely just pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and give us a call.
What's your number to pick up the phone?
So they can call us at 306-966-5757.
Okay, perfect. Just to turn our attention from what has been the normal work your team has been doing to the current situation, which is very, very different. Can you give me a sense of what your team is hearing from students at the moment and about how they're doing?
Mm-hmm. I think some of the emotions that students have expressed in our conversations have been lots of grief and loss, sometimes panic, worry, concern, and lots of anxiety as well. But on the flip side to that, there are some students who are feeling okay with how they're doing. And what I would like to note is that, people can have various feelings, and you can fluctuate between how you're feeling, right? And that's okay, and that's normal. So people let's say one morning can feel that anxiousness, and in the afternoon they're feeling happy or grateful. It's one thing that I want people to know is that you can fluctuate between your emotions, and that's okay.
And so, I mean, with that thought, can you offer us some ideas or some tips on good coping strategies or managing things, managing yourself at this time?
I would definitely say that the overarching thing to remember in all of this is self-compassion. We need to be compassionate. This is a really difficult time. So there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way. It's your way that is best, right? To be able to cope and manage. So, some of the things that I would say is stay connected. Stay connected to your friends and your family. Do the FaceTime, do your Zoom calls, have your house parties. I was even looking this morning, I saw that Isaac has virtual events that are happening. Reach out and participate in those. Just get connected with people. I would also suggest that people acknowledge their feelings, and you need to feel those feelings and also be able to challenge some of the thoughts that you may have, right? So if they're maybe not realistic, questioning yourself. But at the end of the day, just feel those feelings, lean into them, acknowledge them, and know that they're okay and normal. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep, that you're eating well and getting exercise, vitamin D. So getting outside, we have wonderful sunshine in this province. So go for a walk, as long as you're, physical distancing from others, but get outside and get into the fresh air. Reliable information, right? So we have this need to just read all the information about COVID-19 and make sure that the information that you're reading is from reliable sources, but also know what your limits are. So there might be times where you can't read all of that information, and that's okay. If it's just too much, then stop reading it. And I think lastly, I would also say check in on others. We have to take care of one another. We have to look out for one another. Lean into the people that you love or your family or your friends, and we can support one another together. And just breathe and do things that bring enjoyment to your life, right? So right now I am doing a paint by number that really helps me with my own self-care. And so find things that bring you joy and do them.
That's great. And I guess what I'm hearing too is just that permission piece, to give yourself permission. But it's partly about the social care, so your family, your friends. But I'm also hearing about that connection to your team for professional support, that people should give themselves permission to do that and not second guess whether they should make that call or send that email, that they should just do it with the confidence there's a caring and supportive group of people on the other end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're here for, Peter, is we want to be able to support our students. And so give us a call and, we'll do whatever we can to be able to provide that support.
Okay, that's great, Tracy. I just wondered if there was a final thought that you would want to leave people with.
Yeah, I would just remind people to practice self-compassion. This is not a new normal. This is a temporary situation. And I know that with students, they are trying to manage this temporary situation all the while completing their final exams. And so self-compassion is really important at this time. And I guess overall, just be kind to one another and lean into the people that you love and care about.
Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Tracy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Thanks for listening to the Be Well at USask podcast with me, Peter Headley. And thanks again to my colleague Tracy Spencer for joining me and sharing. Students, faculty and staff can connect with the Student Affairs and Outreach team by phone or by email. The number and addresses are listed in the podcast details. Please check in again for further episodes and more content related to USask supports. Subscribe and share this podcast. We're currently on YouTube and Spotify. We'd also love to hear from you, so please post comments and questions and we'll look to include them in future episodes. Also, if there's a person you'd like to see as a guest or a topic you'd like us to cover, please let us know. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking to Parita and Jordan from the International Student and Study Abroad Centre. So until next time, stay safe and be well.